Today's landscape has seen brands aggressively venturing into the digital space to market and sell their products via social and digital platforms. Such a scenario makes it imperative for one to be extremely discerning, considering that appropriate positioning and reputation of the brand play a critical role today, keeping in mind the awareness levels of the end consumer. To highlight the increasing significance of brand safety, our next report captures the essence of the topic basis domain expert views. The report carries some very rich and objective insights on collectively promoting the significance of brand safety. This is an initiative by MMA AMMP community, accelerating modern marketing practices in partnership with Zappats. And we are very proud to have launched our brand safety report at Impact. Once again, requesting everyone to kindly download the report from the resources tab. Now, here are our contributors and council experts who will help you to decode the same. Welcoming Mr. Nitin Gupta, founder and CEO of Zappats. Ms. Gitanjali Bhattacharjee, Executive Director, Africa, India and Middle East, Advisory Services, EY. Mr. Arvind RP, MMA India Board Member, Director of Marketing and Communications, McDonald's India. Mr. Chintan Soni, Vice President, Madison Digital. Ms. Monica Khurana, Country Head and Board Member, MMA Global India. And our moderator for the session is Mr. Faisal Kawasu, Founder, TechArc. Over to our panelists.
Hello everyone, we are today in the second day of 11th edition of MMA IMPACT India, and it's been really nice what we have seen through yesterday. There have been some great insights and some conversations which we have witnessed and seen how the future of marketing is getting shaped. Today, I am very excited that we are in another important session where we are talking about something very important. We know we all are aware of insurance, but are we insuring our brands? That's something I feel where brand safety comes in, and as the Brand Safety and Suitability Council of MMA India. Over these past 3 years, I think, each one of the member in the council, as well as the extended family of MMA, everybody has been, contributing in great way to create not just a basic awareness, but helping out structure something which can be, used by marketeers. And today, continuing that, I would say, contribution of MMA, the council is here. Few members I have with me on the panel today, where we are discussing what's going, what are the contours of the report which gets unveiled, and it will be great to have views of all the council members present here to know, how this brand safety gets so much of significance in today's time. What's also interesting is that while we have this conversation, I'll be taking you through some of the key highlights of the report as we proceed. However, the report gets anyways unveiled today, and it will be accessible to all of you. So let me quickly introduce the panel. Okay, so introducing the panel for the day, I have Gitanjali Bhattacharjee. She is Executive Director, Africa, India and Middle East Advisory Services at EY. I have Arvind RP. He is Director of Marketing and Communications, McDonald's India. I have Nitin Gupta, Founder and CEO of Zappats. I have Chintan Soni, VP of Madison Digital. And I have Monica Khurana, Country Head of MMA India. Hey, hi, welcome you all to this panel discussion, and thanks for being members of the council all through these years, close to 1,000 days, and thanks for the great contributions you all have been making to this council. Okay, I would like to start with Chintan. So Chintan, you handle a lot of marketeers out there. So what is the sentiment around brand safety on the ground? Like, there's still some talk that okay, brand safety isn't that relevant and important. What do you see? How are things changing over the past few maybe years?
Yeah, thank you, Faisal. I mean, we at Madison, we manage more than 200 brands across different verticals. And specifically, if I talk about brand safety in India or any country, it is actually directly proportionate to the supply that is available on the internet. And specifically in digital right now, if you see 70 to 80% of the supply is available on the open auction, where you don't actually really have the control over the kind of inventory that you're buying or where your ad is actually being shown. So that is where the real concern actually arises, where you specifically, after the entire programmatic era has come into the picture, where you buy more audiences than actually a placement sort of thing. You really have, lose a control on the type of pages or the type of content where your ad can be shown. So that is where I guess we all need to get aware about the risk it actually poses to the brand, and then are certain measures that of course you can take at the end of the matter, and you can actually make sure that your brand is actually in the safe and suitable environment. So that is what actually is how I would look at it. Now, if I speak more from the advertiser side, if I ask a question to the set of, let's say, 100 clients that we are handling, that are you really concerned about the brand safety? That chances are that most of them would actually say yes, we are actually concerned about. But are they actually taking proactive action in making sure that their brand is safe and suitable environment? Probably 20% would be proactively taking the action. Yeah. So that is my two ways right now. Where while there is intent and everything, but action is something that is required, and that is where we need to put some sort of a triggers.
Sure. Thank you. Moving on to you, Arvind, yours is a very large brand, global brand out there. And, one of the arguments I keep on hearing from marketers out there is like, large brands don't need not to worry about, it's all sorted. So what's your view? How is probably brand safety affecting, or brand safety issues affecting a brand like yours?
Thank you, Faisal. So the issues are and the challenges are immense, right? Be it for small brands or for large brands. And I think, we all know more and more money is being spent on digital. Talking about McDonald's in India, pre-COVID, we would have been about 30% of the overall consumer spends would be on digital. Now it's close to 50%. Now, that 50%, right, of the spends, right, needs a lot more investments in terms of viewability, metrics, brand safety, ad fraud to make it really work. It doesn't work on its own. I think we have realized it a long time back, and for us there are two dimensions of it. One is brand campaigns. Second is performance campaigns, and there are challenges in both, as one realize. And we also realize that it's not good to do. It is something that's essential to get better ROI from the digital investments, and to make digital investments work even harder. So I would say, if anything, larger brands have larger responsibility to kind of make sure that the brand safety practices are followed, and also evangelize it. For example, Chintan talked about only 20% of the CMOs do something about brand safety, right? That's a very concerning statistic. So how to evangelize brand safety and propagate brand safety, and there's an ROI from investments on brand safety. I think that's the key message that we are working towards internally.
A very interesting point on ROI thing you brought in here, and I would request Gitanjali from ENY now. Gitanjali, is it hard to probably get brand safety as a CXO priority, primarily from this challenge of how do you measure it and where's the ROI?
I think great point. As always, Arvind's hit the nail on the head that intent is very different from actual action, right? But I think what's interestingly happening, however, is first, marketing performance, effectiveness, efficiency was a huge, lever for over a decade. Today, advertisers and a large chunk of them are moving to marketing excellence, right? And when you talk about excellence, it is really about the consumer at the center. When you're looking at the consumer at the center, it's about, is your advertising or communication relevant to the consumer? I think in that context, what's really happening is, and to your question of ROI, is that there's enough been published, recent surveys that have said that consumers will prefer not to buy from brands that appear alongside fake news, right? So consumers today, particularly the younger generation, is becoming very, very focused on the kind of brands they want to associate themselves with. Now, advertisers are aware of all of this. There are very, very clear indications from consumers on what they will not associate with. I think the final lever, and it's up to all of us is to make this, like we do in media spends and everything else that we measure and evaluate, is to actually create a simple, easy to measure way of looking at brand safety. And once you're able to do that, then I think adoption will become it'll be, evolving from every spend that you make in digital. So it's not really that advertisers today don't see the need for it. They, like Arvind said, everyone knows it's important. Consumers are flagging it off. Now, ROI is a function of, can you demonstrate that wastage is happening when your brand is unsafe, right? And that's what then ROI translates into. And I think we've done some wonderful work with starting to create a tool that helps you self-check, which people will see when the report is unveiled. But that's the starting steps towards making it measurable and a part of the ROI metric. I hope that addresses your question.
Yeah, absolutely. And here I would like to bring in a fact from the report which gets unveiled, while 61% of the respondents in one of the surveys that was carried out sometime in early this year by MMA, 61% of respondents are aware of the regulatory messaging guidelines, but only 51% they did confirm that they are not leveraging any brand safety tool or any of such ad fraud tool as well to take care of brand safety. But moving on to you, Nitin, now I want to understand. So you heard how important brand safety and what marketers are exactly doing. So what is the different maybe with a platform like yours, where and how is brand safety taken care of?
So as Chintan mentioned that it all depends on the supply sources, because majority of the inventory is now available on open auction. Anyone can go and buy from that. So that's where we come in. So we are a programmatic company. We were the very first one in India to build our own programmatic architecture, having a direct connection with the mobile applications and websites. Now somehow it becomes one of our key responsibility to just have the partners who ensure that the quality and the guidelines towards brand safety is met. So while we, when we onboard any of our partners, we do due diligence regarding the content, regarding how fast this website or the mobile application is being uploaded, how much is the dynamic content, what kind of third-party content is available that can trigger these kind of warnings. But we have built our own content and contextual-based platform whereby we not only scan the content of a particular web page or application, but we also look at the context of that. Because for an example, if you talk about the keyword like shot, right? So the shot keyword can be used for either a tequila shot, it can be used for a gunshot, or it can be used towards some other vaccine shot as well, right? So now the keyword remains same, but the context completely changes into all three segments. Now, while vaccine shot can be a positive keyword for some of the brands, tequila shot or a gunshot cannot be. So this is the difference that comes in. So that's where the platforms like us comes in play, where we have multiple algorithms in place to check and ensure that whoever brand is spending with us, we are looking at not only the content but context of the content as well to show the ads only to the right audience.
Okay, that's a fair point. I think yes, it's not just about the keyword out there, but the context that gets very important. Coming to you, Monica, I think by now we heard from, and there's a consensus around the importance of brand safety. So would you say that modern marketing and brand safety is kind of inseparable?
Marketing and brand safety is inseparable, and modern marketing is definitely spearheading marketing in a big way, is what I would say. But having said that, I'm sure everyone here on the panel would agree that brand safety technically is not a new concept. It was even there a decade back when television was one of the main screens, right? And, that is also a point where advertisers and consumers both evaluated how suitable that media was, and also how safe that media was. So it's just that now it's got much more nuanced, more complex, because now there are far too many touch points, and each touch point needs a different approach in managing brand safety. So that definitely has changed considerably because the landscape has changed, but as an issue it continues to remain at the center of everything marketing.
Okay, and yes, a bit of a difference because in maybe TV, you could control the audience, and somebody was controlling it. In digital, like audiences are there, you have children, you have everyone kind of accessing it, so that makes it more important perhaps in the digital. Uh, okay, coming Arvind, coming to Arvind, again, if I look at, okay, D2C is something which we are now hearing these days, but if I look at the McDonald's, history, it's one of the pioneers of D2C, I would say. So how is now brand safety getting very, very important as, brands, go with this D2C journey?
Well, different dimensions to the D2C journey. Specifically, let me call out, lead generation, which is very critical. For example, in the food delivery business, as we call it, the equivalent of the e-commerce in the food category. And we have come a long way. I think we would have started in the Indian context a few years back. We have come a long way in kind of fashioning a toolkit that kind of reduces, eliminates is a very strong word. I would hesitate to use that. Kind of reduces the chance of invalid orders, to kind of put it very, very broadly, right? But the learning is very interesting, right? As we evolve the playbook, at some point in time, the understanding or the assumption was that walled gardens don't have this issue. But I think, as Chintan pointed out early in the discussion, all platforms have brand safety issue. All platforms, including programmatic. And there is a lot of recent news, especially on the programmatic front. Now, this becomes very concerning. And so it's more of a journey, I would say, right, where you evolve and adapt the tools that you're using rather than signing up something and then solving brand safety once for all, right? So you are, in a way, playing catch up, but making sure you are using newer, more advanced tools and logic to improve it over a period of time and reduce it over a period of time. And in the end, measurement is so important when it comes to performance marketing, for that matter, even in brand marketing, but more so in performance marketing, right? Where you kind of have a cost per order and you measure CLTV. All of those assumptions can go off the whack if you don't get brand safety right, if you don't measure it right across the funnel. So I think we have come a long way, but like I said, it's a journey. And I think this report, for example, talks about various tools brands could use. For example, it comes to paid marketing, and we have seen ROI on this investments, right? Initially, we felt we are already spending a lot more. Why spend a little bit more when it comes to brand safety or ad fraud? But we quickly saw ROI, and we realized that it's not good to do. It's something that's essential as far as the D2C is concerned.
Okay, so we got the first kind of actionable point, as we move further with the discussion. So D2C has some action around there. Geetanjali, you are, as an advisor to many of the brands out there, helping them strategize on maybe marketing as well as business objectives. And you create a lot of, blueprints, roadmaps, playbooks, all of those things. So how do you really, how now if a brand understands that, yes, brand safety is important, how do you help them, strategize all of this?
I think it clearly starts, a lot of work that we do is in the area of performance measurement, right? And there are two ways that it starts working. One is that when they define the KPIs that have to be delivered at a complete marketing level, right? We step in and we make sure that this is a part of the KPIs. What is typically happening is most of the KPIs are always led as agency performance KPIs, and that itself is flawed, right? The KPIs have to be at an overarching level, right? From your brand health to your, whatever emerges from your brand tracks, right down to your brand safety. These are attributes. More evolved advertisers, of course, globally have figured this out. I think in the Alcobev category, I've seen very evolved KPIs. BFSI is next. I'm seeing a lot of shifts there. But for CPG companies and in fact, even interestingly, e-commerce companies, it just comes down to performance, right? And therefore, to go into the KPIs, and it's not so much strategy, it's essentially looking at other KPIs all encompassing. Are they taking you towards excellence? I think that's our journey today as advisors, to say, if you want to head towards marketing excellence, are your KPIs covering it all, right? And that's where brand safety comes in.
Okay, and in the report also, we talk about, like, advertisers understand that to connect with their audiences, they need a digital strategy, and I think which is a brand safe digital strategy. That's very much, I think, called out in the report as well.
Sure.
So we have similar interesting things in the report out there. Chintan, you talked about initially that you have over 200 plus kind of brands you work with, and I'm sure they represent different industries. So can you take us through what's exactly happening in different industries? Give us some colors around it, how brand safety is kind of behaving in different industries out there.
So Faisal, my point of view is pretty simple. Actually, brand safety as an issue is actually not particular to any one industry. It is actually it cuts across the industry, because like I said, that we have actually moved from a placement or a platform level buying to more audience level buying. Be it you are a CPG player or a BFSI player. If you are buying more of the open auction inventory, you are always posed a risk to your brand being seen in the non-safe environment. So I don't think that it is one industry over indexes and one industry actually under indexes. It is basically the kind of supplies that you buy. I'll just give you one very simple example. I think a couple of days before during Holi, I was actually reading something on the COVID news, and some actually chocolate brand was communicating a message, happy Holi. I mean, that definitely is not the right environment to promote, and it's not impossible to actually block this kind of inventory, right? It's a simple keyword filtration that you can actually do when you are buying the supply. So these are the things which are like simple hacks, but I think it is often ignored. And what happens specifically in India is what I've seen is that the action from advertiser is more reactive when consumer flags something to brand, either on the social handle or on the or on the personal messaging. If it actually becomes more proactive, we will actually see much lesser cases of brand being seen in the non-safe environment.
But if I may just come in here, I wanted to, if you're all right with that, Faisal, just talk to us, Chintan, that from an agency perspective, do you find, and I struggle with this a lot, is that certain marketers have evolved teams at their end, right, who understand this well, and therefore it becomes a sector-specific piece, right? So certain sectors have not embedded strong digital understanding teams, and therefore they are not able to get under this as much as certain other sectors. Would that be something that you're witnessing as an agency?
No, not really, Gitanjali. I mean, we basically set certain set of protocols before any campaign goes live. There are certain set of protocols that we have set in across different verticals. So for example, if it's a master negative keyword list, that basically goes across all the seats that we manage, be it CPG advertiser or BFSI advertiser. So those are the protocols and the processes that takes into account before we start launching any campaign. So while there is no separate team per se, but there are certain processes and checks before any campaign goes live.
That's interesting because we've
Gitanjali,
seen certain advertisers resist it if the teams are not evolved.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, from a member point of view, because we work so closely with so many marketer members, what we
Right.
noticed is the issue that you just called out is an issue where there are reactive measures taken, right?
Right.
Where they clearly don't have the depth or the learning curve with which to handle it, right?
Right.
But there is a sector which is very proactive, which is planning for it and investing into it
Absolutely.
to be
Yeah.
able to gear for it. So that sector is coping far better, irrespective of what their spends are, as long as
And that's a function of the people on the business, right?
Yeah.
So as long as they're building the readiness and the structures, they're able to combat it better.
That's
Yeah, agree with you.
And adding to this, I think it is also to do with the digital mature and digital novice kind of sectors. OTT, e-commerce, that's digital first or digital only. So there's the skill set as well as probably understanding is definitely higher than maybe a sector which is now getting into the digital. That could be one of the things out there. Monica, Chintan talked about the sectors and he also brought in some subtle differences we see in India. But take us through. MMA as a global body also does brand safety initiatives on the global front. So take us through how is brand safety in India a bit different, and why one needs to look at it from India perspective a bit differently than what's happening globally.
Makes sense. No, happy to. So, of course, first of all, I think what is important to put out there is that MMA is globally committed to the narrative of brand safety, and there is a lot of work happening across the board on tackling and addressing brand safety as an issue. We strongly believe it's something which we need to stand for, and it's a voice that we really want to build upon. At the back of it, whether I look at the India angle or the global angle, one common angle first I'll highlight, and then I'll get to what's not common. The common angle is that we're making sure that on that any which ways as a body, we believe that we need to work with the ecosystem to solve for any large issues, right? Like look at this panel, for example. Like this is a panel which represents a part of our council, and this panel is itself representing an ecosystem. Like we have an agency representation, we have platform, we have brand, we have consulting, we have experts. So that is the nature. So like Arvind is very, clear on what is a marketer problem here. Chintan is very clear on what's an agency problem. You guys are very clear on what's a tech or a solution problem, right? So first of all, being able to bring all those views under one roof becomes a very powerful way to solve for issues like these, right? So that's something I think we're trying to follow as a common approach. Having said that, whilst we do have intelligence and educational toolkits being built around the world, so for example, we released a global guide early this year. We're releasing an India guide at this event. What is different is the focus areas which are getting addressed. So of course, there are some common aspects, like for example, we do want to address the pain point of who's responsible to manage brand safety, which are the stakeholders who should be worrying the most about it, what structures are important, what tools are effective. Of course, those are common aspects. What is not common is the fact that in India, India is a very multicultural market, a very diverse market, and there is a lot of regional context which is really, really different in India, right? So the local nuance matters a lot. Like what a word Tamil versus Telugu or English versus another language is extremely different. So to be able to plan for brand safety in a manner where you're addressing it right all the way up to the heartland and tackling all those regional nuances becomes very critical. And that's what's really different in India as a market versus other markets. So that's where we tend to need to do more work than what other markets would need to do. Otherwise, of course, issues around fake news, bots, hate speech, all of those are common aspects.
Got it. So the regional language perspective makes India a different flavor on brand safety. Lastly, Nitin, I wanted to have your views. We are, kind of already into Web 3.0, Internet 3.0, in embracing new technologies. So what kind of brand safety issues you foresee in, say, metaverse or other such technologies which are out there, which are reshaping the entire marketing out there.
Sure. Before that, I would like to add that, when you're talking about from a brand's perspective, so generally when we start, get a campaign from say a brand or an agency, we see that they mention only brand safe traffic only. But when it comes to ad fraud, they have a huge list of ad fraud checkpoints that they have in mind. That, the user shouldn't come in this particular second, shouldn't come from search, shouldn't come from, sources, the conversion rate should be high and all that. So what I really want to think is that a brand spends a lot of money in controlling the ad fraud part to ensure that their ROI is high. But the spends on the brand safety part is comparably lower because over for them it's just like brand safe traffic only. Now it's not that easy to figure out what is a brand safe traffic out of noise of billions and billions and billions of data points around in the market. Right. So that is the biggest challenge in Web 2.0 right now. Talking from the Web 3.0 perspective, so when we see Web 2.0, it's all about text, images, videos, and analyzing brand safety is pretty difficult over there. While there are tools, while there are platforms to work on that particular part and ensure that we are able to cut down on most of the low quality traffic, but still, there are some brand safety challenges that are still there in the Web 2.0 market. In Web 3.0 and metaverses, it will be completely different because now we are not talking about a particular website or mobile application that is hosting somewhere. We're talking about the real life experiences of the people. We're talking about the people wearing Oculus, VR, AR headsets, playing around, roaming around in the metaverses and everything, controlling the content over there. And especially from the brand safety per se, it's going to be further difficult over there. Because over there, the content is changing in every microsecond, every millisecond, and millions of users are there interacting to each other on a real-time basis. And over there, the brands will be taking the placements over there as well. Now, while it looked that a particular metaverse is pretty safe, the brands are there, they have created their own stores or ad slots or something like that. But it all depends on the users as well, on what kind of users are roaming in that particular part of the metaverse. So brand safety will, evolve from only from the content perspective or the context perspective to the perspective of user as well. That what kind of user is consuming what kind of context, especially on the metaverse.
Very interesting. Makes sense.
That's an interesting point. Like, yes, so if I could, comprehend it. So the point is about this brand safety is kind of always on issue out there. You talked about ad fraud and brand safety. So, in the beginning, I talked about the insurance kind of analogy. So I think, ad fraud is more of your, vehicle insurance. So you're more concerned about it because somewhere related to traffic. This is more of a brand safety is more of a term insurance of your brand. It's, very, very, you need to be very, very, far-fetched to understand the importance and significance of this insurance as well to safeguard your brand. We are kind of towards the end of the discussion, and I'm really thankful to all of the thought provokers here who joined me today. But in the end, I would just like to run a quick poll, and I want to have ratings from all of you. I love to do this in all the sessions. Where do you see brand safety in India right now on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the picture perfect scenario? Chintan, what's your rating?
3.
3. Nitin?
So I say around 5 and a half.
Okay, Gitanjali?
2.
Oh, Arvind?
2.
Monica?
I would actually bifurcate it between mature players and the uninitiated. For the mature ones, I'll be a little generous and say 5. For the uninitiated, it's 2.
Okay, so I don't know how would the weighted look like. Like, I think it's overall maybe 3 or something like that. That's where it looks like. So this means a lot of work to be done by the brands, and not by the brands alone, but by the entire ecosystem. And I think initiatives what we have been driving and are driving in the council are very, very important. So thanks to all of you being part of the panel, part of the council, as well as contributing to the report which gets unveiled today. For the audiences, there are lots of, learned viewpoints from experts of the domain in the report. There are insights substantiated by research. So there's a lot to really, learn from. And it's very practical report where, you can just utilize it and implement it as soon as you download the report. So I would, encourage and request all of you to, go to the resources section and download the report. It's now available. And with that, I wish you all a great weekend ahead. And thanks for being part of MMA IMPACT India 11.
So Faisal, if I can just take a minute to
Sure.
to also just emphasize a little bit on the fact that this is definitely a neutral report, which has brought together industry POVs from across the ecosystem, therefore really offering a blueprint of sorts for the marketer. However, what is more important is it's a joint collaboration with our MMA Brand Safety and Suitability Council. A lot of the key contributors are on this panel, and hence I do definitely want to do a big shout out, say a big thank you for being able to put this together. There is a lot of rigor, a lot of research, analysis,